Good evening, I'm Jason Vio. Katarina is away tonight. This is CBC Windsor News. Thank you so much for watching. Tonight, new data shows those charged with panhandling don't face any real consequence. So is it worth the police response? Plus, the provincial budget was released this afternoon. We'll get all of the highlights and hear from Ontario's finance minister live in just a few minutes. Windsor's mayor and police board chair is continuing to refuse to discuss former Chief Pam Mizuno's retirement agreement. She was paid $266,000 for working as police chief for just 3 months. And a COVID isolation center for migrant workers is closing, but there's concern now about how the agriculture sector would handle another health crisis. New police data on aggressive panhandling shows that a vast majority of the charges filed are never actually paid, and many of the people fined are repeat offenders. TJ Deere has the story.
This is a familiar sight downtown. Windsor residents asking drivers for spare change. Recent data shows officers are cracking down on panhandling. According to data gathered by Windsor Police and OPP detachments in Windsor, Essex, 199 panhandling charges have been laid since 2019. 77% of those charges went to repeat offenders, including one offender that has been charged 30 times. Of the total charges, 95% of them have not been paid. Although this panhandler has never been charged, he's not surprised that many charges have not been settled.
They're not necessarily homeless, but I don't think they have other resources to collect money, to earn money. So this is their only way. For some people that look different, for some people that don't have no life skills, no job skills in certain areas, this is the only thing they do know.
The administrator of Street Help agrees with Tully's opinion, citing a panhandler that she knew who has since passed away.
He would laugh, but not a happy laugh, sarcastically about it and say, these thousands and thousands of dollars that they say I owe them, I'll never be able to pay. They keep slapping them on me. It's ridiculous. I won't even be able to get a job.
This comes as Mayor Drew Dilkins and some city councillors want to introduce a new bylaw that will make aggressive panhandling illegal. Part of a report to the city's Environment, Transportation and Public Safety Standing Committee includes this draft bylaw to curb aggressive panhandling. It defines panhandling in an aggressive manner as a behavior likely to cause a reasonable person to be concerned for their safety or security. The bylaw would prohibit aggressive panhandling at locations such as banks, bus stops, and on roads and sidewalks. Although Wilson Furlonger, a former panhandler herself, says she understands aggressive panhandling being made illegal, she says most panhandlers are not aggressive, making the bylaw pointless. She also offered a solution to the buildup of unpaid tickets, especially for repeat offenders.
After a certain amount of tickets, maybe it's more realistic to dispose of the tickets and put the person into a mental health program. I think that's the route to go.
Windsor's top cop addressed concerns that the new bylaw is not necessary, saying that argument could also be made about repeat offenses in crime.
A lot of the people that we arrest in the crime spectrum of what the police do is recidivism, the same people over again. So that's not the simple answer, I don't think, to it. I think that the Windsor Police will always do what we can to work with our partners.
Chief Belair said he applauded Windsor City Council for flagging the issue of aggressive panhandling. The city's Environment, Transportation and Public Safety Standing Committee will discuss the police data and the draft bylaw when they next meet on Wednesday. TJ Deere, CBC News, Windsor.
It's budget day in Ontario, and today the Ford government has tabled its budget for the coming year. It contains record high spending and record high revenues. Senior Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley brings us all of the highlights.
The Premier and his Finance Minister are proposing to spend more this year than any Ontario government in history.
This plan is our blueprint for building a strong province during a time of economic challenges and change.
The budget is about as close to balanced as it gets, with both spending and revenues topping the $200 billion mark.
We are showing it is possible to balance a budget while investing more in housing, more in highways, more in transit.
The budget is balanced largely thanks to money pouring into provincial coffers. Personal income tax revenue jumped $12 billion in just 2 years, but for ordinary workers, no new income tax break today.
We've been there in the past, we continue to be there, and will continue to support the many people in our communities.
There is, however, a big tax break coming for businesses. Ontario's corporate income tax rate is 11.5%, but if you're a small business, it's just 3.2%. And the Ford government will allow more companies to benefit from that lower rate. Right now, only businesses that have less than $10 million in capital are eligible. The government is expanding that to businesses worth up to $50 million.
With this budget, we are seeing a government make choices that benefit a select few, very well-connected people at the expense of everyone else.
The budget does expand the province's gain income supplement so that another 100,000 low-income seniors will benefit. There's a 4% increase to hospital funding and an extra $72 million to do surgeries outside of hospitals, including in private clinics. But nothing new for cash-strapped municipalities.
With regard to cities like Toronto, but right across the province, we continue to do historic investments in infrastructure.
With a new mandate and 3 years till they have to face voters again, the government could have used this budget to make politically unpopular moves.
Serious times call for a serious budget. Mr. Speaker, this is a serious budget.
But with so much revenue, the finance minister didn't actually have to get all that serious about restraint. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
And for more on the provincial budget, let's go to Finance Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy. He joins us live tonight. Thank you so much for being here, Minister.
Great to be with you, Jason.
Minister, there's a huge amount of spending in the budget, but given inflation, rising interest rates, and the increasing cost of just about everything, there's no tax break for the average Ontarian. Why not?
You know, I would just say first off that this is a budget that really focuses on the economy and good jobs. And I know things they're challenging, but what I hear from a lot of people is they want the opportunity to have a really good job, whether it's the healthcare sector or skilled trades and construction, whether it's in our education system, helping to build Ontario. I mean, we got to build highways, we got to build hospitals, we got to build our healthcare system, we've got to hire a lot of people and train them. And so what we're really focused on is jobs, infrastructure, and the economy. And I think of places like Windsor, where we're investing in a hospital. We're co-investing for Stellantis and LG to create even bigger footprint of jobs for Windsor in the electric vehicle space. You know, we're focused on a range of things, and we are helping people. I would just point to the supportive housing and helping through the homelessness prevention program. We're helping the most vulnerable as well, with some big increases for supportive housing in this budget.
And you touched on it just there, the electric vehicle. People are switching gears. Windsor is an automotive hub, as you know, and that EV battery plant is coming. And a lot, Minister, as you know, is really riding on consumers shifting to EVs. But experts have pointed out that rebates are needed to help make them more affordable for consumers. Your government scrapped that rebate. Why not bring it back?
You know, the number one priority is to attract the investment into Ontario. That's our primary focus. You know, the president of the U.S. is coming up. They're putting billions of dollars into re-engineering their economy to the economy of the future. So we're making strategic investments, not just in Windsor, but you saw the announcement with Volkswagen in St. Thomas, a massive investment that's coming to St. Thomas and the environment there, the region there, in Oshawa, in Brampton, in Oakville, in Alliston, in Ingersoll. You know, we are bringing back these great jobs. Capital is coming back, and one of the reasons that they're coming here is because we've got a clean energy grid, some of the lowest carbon emissions on the planet in our electricity grid. It's because we've got great workers in Windsor, but we got to train and retrain and reskill. And that's why we're investing so much in this budget in the skilled trades and on workers, putting in more money to make sure we can attract and skill and retain workers who are going to build those electric vehicles, who are going to build those hospitals.
So, Minister, is the door completely closed on that EV rebate for consumers down the road?
Well, we're really focused on the infrastructure, the economy, attracting the investments, skilling our folks. And so what I would say is there's many ways to create opportunities for people to buy electric vehicles. And let me tell you, Jason, in 10 years or less, when you go buy your new car, you're going to choose between an electric vehicle and an electric vehicle, and it will be built in southwestern Ontario, including the battery plant in Windsor, and based on the critical minerals coming from the north. So this is a total Ontario story. Grow the economy, grow good jobs, bigger paychecks. That's what I'm hearing from people right across the province.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason.
Peter Bethlenfalvy is Ontario's finance minister. There continue to be many unanswered questions about why retired police chief Pam Mizuno earned $266,000 for working just 3 months last year. She abruptly retired in the middle of her 5-year contract. Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkens, who's also chair of the police board, wouldn't explain how this happened after today's police board meeting. He calls it a retirement agreement. Dilkens says because it's an identifiable individual, he can't say more. Here's a bit of our exchange today.
As you have reached out last week when you did your first story, you were given a response that we can't talk to the matter because it relates to an employment matter, and so I'm just unable to talk to it. And no matter how many times and how many ways you ask, you're going to get the same response. It's an employment matter and I can't speak any more to it.
Can we expect Pam Mizuno's name to be on the Sunshine List for this year when we see the data next year?
You'll just have to wait and see. Yeah.
So is her retirement agreement in 2 parts paid out? Like, I guess people want to know if she's going to be on the Sunshine List for this year, if she's still on the books in some fashion.
Well, we have an agreement with the chief and I can't speak to the employment matter anymore. Next questions, guys, because I'm not going to stand here and answer this 100 times the same way.
By comparison, Mizuno's predecessor, Al Frederick, retired in June of 2019 with a salary of more than $133,000. That's less than half of what he made the previous year. CBC News also asked Dilkens why the retirements of the 2 most recent chiefs of police differed when it comes to salary. He said again he couldn't discuss it. You can see all of the questions and answers with Dilkens on this subject on our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. A downtown resident is on a personal mission to help the city's homeless. Lynn Gagne is an unofficial outreach worker of sorts.
Here you go. Do you need a paper towel?
Oh, yes.
For your hands? I wish I had gloves. You need gloves, don't you?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Almost each day, she goes out looking for people who don't have a home. She gives them food, clothing, and cash if she has some. Gagne says she's driven by her faith to help. She's on disability and doesn't have much, but what she does have, she's willing to share. A number of the homeless people she met blame addiction for their circumstances. Bo Wellman says he uses fentanyl and crystal meth. He talks about the toll drugs have taken on his friends.
What about the deaths that are happening from the fentanyl use? Have you seen anybody die?
I have lost close to 60 friends in the past 3 years. I lost. Angel died.
Yeah, I knew Angel. I knew her mom.
Did you know her mom?
Yes, I did. Barb.
Angel was my best friend.
Okay.
And then Nikki just died 2 days ago.
Okay, what happened to her?
She OD'd.
How old was she?
She was young. She wasn't even 21 yet. I think it's an absolute epidemic, and I think it's just a travesty. It's a waste of life.
Gagne says people on the streets need respect, compassion, and more resources. You can read more about this on our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. The COVID-19 Isolation and Recovery Center for migrant workers in our region is closing the doors at the end of the month. The center started taking in workers in the summer of 2020. It was seen as critical in helping agriculture workers who tested positive for COVID-19. During the waves of the illness, dozens of outbreaks were reported as many workers weren't able to properly isolate. Now, with low demand and funding set to expire, the county is stopping the service.
For several months, there hasn't been occupancy at the site. Therefore, the need for the site has decreased. We worked with our community partners, and we feel that at this time, the center is no longer needed.
One migrant worker advocate says after all of this, the agriculture sector is still not prepared to deal with a future health crisis, and that more work needs to be done to ensure workers are not put at risk again.
We need to start preparing for the next outbreak and to ensure that preparations put in place for other infectious diseases and infectious hazards that workers will have going to the future. It seems that we have not learned any of the lessons from this pandemic. So the supports that are needed to protect workers don't exist. Starting with the asymmetrical power imbalance that exists within the industry, where workers are still tied to a specific employer, the constant threat of repatriation and termination, the fact that the provincial governments have not enacted any provincial labor laws, whether it's paid sick days.
U.S. President Joe Biden arrives in Ottawa tonight for a 2-day working visit. It's his first official trip since winning the presidency more than 2 years ago. He'll be accompanied by First Lady Jill Biden, and Ottawa has been busy preparing for the high-profile guests. Biden will meet with the Governor General before traveling to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's residence. The two leaders are set to hold a series of meetings. The busy agenda includes talks on the ongoing war in Ukraine. Also up for discussion, irregular migration, the crisis in Haiti, and trade. The U.S. president will deliver a speech to Parliament tomorrow. The Prime Minister and wife, Sophie Gregoire, will host a dinner for the Bidens at the Aviation and Space Museum before they leave. Still to come here on CBC Windsor News Live at 6, double-digit temps this weekend, but with it comes rain. Your full weather forecast is coming up next. Spring is busting out all over, and the annual explosion of cherry blossoms is on full display in Washington. The blossoms are a little earlier than usual this year due to a mild winter. They've been at their peak this week, according to the U.S. National Park Service. The U.S. Capitol has thousands of these cherry trees, and there are 12 different varieties. And the original trees, believe it or not, were a gift from Japan, and they were planted back in 1912. So beautiful to look at, Colette. We had to pause and just kind of take it in there for a moment.
Yeah, let's look at we looked at them yesterday, today,
I know.
tomorrow.
Yesterday we looked at them, they were in Japan. Today we look at them, they're in Washington, but from Japan. So it's kind of a nice little full circle thing before we get into our weather, which is there's a bit of gloomy weather in the forecast.
Well, it's spring-like, so it means we get some of that, the nice, mild spring, beautiful conditions, and then we get some of the nasty stuff, the holdover from winter, and that's really what spring is like. So a weather statement has been issued by Environment Canada. This is for Saturday, very important, not tomorrow. Tomorrow's a prep day or a better travel day than Saturday will be. For southwestern Ontario, it's primarily because of the winds, but there will be areas of freezing rain that will push into the province too. So note that if you are going to be moving about. Now, the forecast winds, let's look at those for as this comes in and what we're talking about, since that's really what the statement is for in this neck of the woods. And we are looking at those gusts 50 to over 60 kilometers an hour, and at times a few pockets even stronger than that. And that's really Saturday and still probably breezy into early Sunday, by the way. Our current temperatures, those temperatures doing the up and the down, right? We've seen a lot here just over the last 24 hours. And the wet weather, that is all pushed along. High pressure is moving in. That's usually a wonderful thing, and it is. It's just going to be short-lived for us. So that ridge of high pressure really trying to push that cloud deck away. It will have some success, and that's why tonight we'll get into mostly clear skies, and tomorrow we'll have some sun mixed with cloud, but quite a bit of sun and a bright sky. And that ridge, if only it could protect us and keep this at bay all to the south, but it just can't. And what happens as we go overnight Friday, it's really into early Saturday morning, some of that mixing mostly to the north of Windsor and to the west of Toronto, and becomes a rain event with windy conditions for southwestern Ontario. A few wet flurries not out of the question as it moves in, but mostly that's what it is going to be a soggy kind of a day Saturday and blustery. Temperatures overnight tonight, the cool spot is going to be London there, feeling like -7. Milder back towards Windsor, and certainly mild as we head into Saturday, because along with all of that, I do also have to say it comes with the milder temperatures.
Okay, I think I'd prefer the mild temps and a little bit of rain as opposed to a clear sky and really cold temperatures.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if you took a poll, there may be it may be kind of mixed, equally mixed on that one.
Thanks so much.
That. All right.
Thanks, Colette. We're taking a quick break, but do stay with us. When we return, we'll take you to the world's largest flower park. That's coming up. 17 Ukrainian children who were sent to camps by Russian officials were reunited with their families in Kyiv today. They are among thousands who have been forcibly relocated since the war began. CBC sent a team to Kyiv to meet the families at this reunion. Briar Stewart has this report.
This is the first time Denis Zaprzenchenko has seen his 3 children since October. That's when he says his family was pressured to send them to Crimea. Most of the 17 children who were returned to Kyiv were living in Russian-occupied Kherson last fall. We were told they will see the sea and have clean air, he says. When we realized we didn't have to send them, it was too late. He and other parents were expecting their children would be returned in a few weeks. Then they were told 2 months. This reunion came after nearly half a year. Every day at 8:15 a.m., they forced us to stand up for the Russian national anthem, says Nikita. These children described different experiences. Some said they were well cared for and even had fun. But Vitaly Vertash said it was so bad that he and a girl ran away and were picked up by police 2 days later. Natalia Zronyk's 15-year-old son wasn't sent to a camp, but was taken by soldiers from their village in the Kharkiv region to a boarding school in Russian-occupied Luhansk. They threatened that they would send him to an asylum or put him up for adoption, she says. She and all of these other families were able to get their children back with the help of a foundation called Save Ukraine. It organized and paid for the trip, which took the mothers through Poland, Belarus, and eventually Russia. Mykola Kuliba says the Kremlin is trying to convince the world it's saving the children.
But they have no any rights as aggressor to touch any family, any child, because it is a war crime. And they must be punished in Ukrainian court or in Hague.
Last week, the International Criminal Court issued warrants for President Vladimir Putin and Russia's Children's Commissioner for war crimes. Arrest is not enough, she says. I want him sentenced to a penal colony. All of these families are now receiving social and psychological help, and organizers say they'll keep working to bring more children back home. Briar Stewart, CBC News, London.
The world's largest flower park has now fully reopened in the Netherlands. It's the first time in 3 years it's been able to do that without COVID restrictions.
Thank you. Bye.
Known as the Garden of Europe, visitors can take in a show of more than 7 million flowers in full bloom. Located in southern Holland, it's expected to attract more than 1 million visitors this year, but you'll have to hurry if you plan to visit. The park is only open for 8 weeks every spring season. And the man who invented the jet suit, which is powered by gas turbine engines, is planning to form an international race series.
It's just going to be a really fascinating melting pot of human and machine against each other, seeing how fast and how far you can push those boundaries, but in a safe environment over water.
The idea is that celebrities from the sports world and beyond will take part in international events. Pilots will race jet suits against each other, and the Clock, the company that makes the suits, has made an investment of more than $52 million Canadian in the past 6 years. That's it for CBC Windsor News at 6. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, for news anytime, head to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. We're on social media as well. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Have a great night.